Welcome to Midlife Hobbies. In this video we're going to look at my favorite dry brushing paint and the struggle to not be so reliant on it being available. Buckle up because this is going to be quite the journey. I've tried a bunch of brands of acrylic paint, and one that made dry brushing the easiest was a brand called Deco Arts, and it was specifically the ready-to-pour line of products. The ready-to-pour paint is made for pour art. If you haven't seen it, just give a search for it on YouTube, it's pretty cool. It's thinned perfectly to use for dry brushing right out of the bottle, and because it's inexpensive you can feel less guilty about how much you waste while dry brushing. Two things happened during the creation of this video. One, the Deco Arts ready-to-pour line paints are being discontinued from Michaels in Canada, and two, it turns out that the local dollar store carries Deco Arts acrylics as their inexpensive line of paints for about $1.50 each. This got me thinking about how I could mix a Dollarama craft paint with a pouring medium and make batches of my favorite dry brushing paint in any color I wanted. And if things went well enough, I could use the same process on other acrylic paints. Initially I thought, well, I could just add flow aid and make the paint flow better. Tested it on a bottle of Deco Art craft paint, and it never seemed to make enough of a difference in the flow of the paint at all, or it would require so much flow aid that it just didn't make sense. This is a test I did between the brown ready-to-pour paint and the dollar store craft paint of the same brand, after I had added a bunch of flow aid to the red craft paint. You can see it just doesn't run the same. So I did some research, made some notes in my painting experiments and recipes book. It seems that I had to learn more about pouring mediums. It turns out you can make your own at home with white PVC glue or school glue and distilled water. 2 parts glue, 1 part water. Now I could buy a brand name pouring medium for about $16 a bottle and be able to mix 24 ounces of paint. Or I can make my own pouring medium for $20 and make over 250 ounces of paint. So I made my own pouring medium. It turns out in the measuring world that 2 tablespoons equals 1 ounce, so measuring out the perfect mix is fairly easy. I did find that mixing thicker paints like Liquitex basic acrylics needed an extra tablespoon of distilled water added to it to get the same consistency I was getting from the Deco Arts acrylic paints. Let's just mix them up really quick here. We need 1 tablespoon of the paint, and this is the Liquitex Basics acrylic, so it's much thicker than the Deco Art stuff. I'm mixing all of this in a stainless steel bowl with a stainless steel mixing rod because it's easier to clean. I find plastic stains fairly easy. That's some pretty thick stuff. I was kind of tempted to lick the spoon, but I didn't think it would taste very good. Time to add in the pouring medium. This is the 2 parts glue, 1 part distilled water. And we will need 2 tablespoons of this. And now to give it a good mixing. We want to make sure we scrape the edges and the bottom and get all the paint all mixed in. You don't want any lumps in there or dried bits. Sometimes they say you should strain it before you put it into bottles for use later, but we're not going to do that here. This is just for example. It's a bit runnier, and you can see it's maintained its color well, but it's still not really at the consistency that we want it for pouring art, or in our case, dry brushing. Let's add another tablespoon of pour medium. And let's give it a good mix again, just to make sure it's nice and stirred together. It looks a bit better, but not quite pouring yet. So let's add in a bit more distilled water. Another tablespoon should do. Added bonus, it cleans the spoon, and I'm not wasting any water. Let's give it one last big mix. And now it's perfect. Perfect pouring paint. Now we'll just bottle it up. Now if you're using this and you find that the pigment has been stretched too thin and it seems very transparent, you can always add more paint to it. So for dry brushing, this is going to be perfect. For pouring, this is going to be perfect. But if you ever find you've got an acrylic paint that just seems too transparent after putting pouring medium in it or thinning it down, you can just always add more base acrylic paint. You can see here that we haven't lost any vibrancy in the color at all with this method. Who knew? Glue and distilled water. Well, now you do. I find it helps to write the brand of the paint and what we've mixed it with right on the bottle, so the next time I'm looking for that exact paint, I'll know what it is, what brand it is, what I mixed it with, and how to make more of it. If you've enjoyed or learned anything from this video, please like and subscribe. We have more cool midlife hobby content on the way.